was through. But since when has impossible ever stopped you? Friday's disappointment, Sunday's empty tomb. Since when has impossible ever stopped you? This is the sound of dry bones rattling. This is the praise, make a dead man walk again. Open the grave, I'm coming out. I'm gonna live again. This is the sound of dry bones rattling.
KC Church family, we are so glad that you've joined us this weekend. If this is your first time here, we want to extend a special welcome just for you. You can text NEW to the number on the screen so that we can connect with you. And as a bonus, to say thanks for joining us, we will send you a coffee shop gift card. As well, if you want to stay connected and up to date with what's happening at KAC, you can text CONNECT to the number on the screen and receive weekly text message updates so you never miss out. Okay, we have so many amazing things happening here at KAC, so the place to go to see all that is KAC, our website. So that is kaac.ca. And so happening on Thursdays from 1 to 3 at Riverside Park is KAC Summer Youth. So if you're a youth, come hang out with me. And then on July 22nd, KAC Women's Ministry is having a Walking in Stride event. And on July 30th, we're having river baptisms. Okay, prime timers, this is for you. So prime time this month will be happening on Monday, July 17th at 9 a.m. at McDonald Park. You won't want to miss out. It's going to be a great time. Fellowship, food, fun. There will be pickleball for those who wish to play or learn the game. Snacks and coffee will be provided, so just bring your lawn chairs, your lawn games, and show up for a good time. Okay, we still have Upward Basketball Camp coming up, and there's still space available for August. So that's happening August 14th to 18th, and this is for kids entering grade 1 and entering grade 6, all the way through. So spots will fill up fast, so be sure to register today. Okay, we also have our KAC Camp Out up at Knuff Lake Wilderness Resort happening next month. You won't want to miss out. It's a great opportunity to connect, have fun, visit with the church families, and there'll be so much time for visiting, playing, fishing, hiking, swimming, all of that stuff. So book your site today. Okay, for those of us who call KAC Church our home, giving is a spiritual practice that becomes part of our rhythms and routines that God gets to invite us into. And we get to worship Him in this act of obedience. And we get to worship Him by practicing generosity. And so you can find ways to give through our website or out in the foyer. Okay, you guys, thanks for listening. And if you're here in person, please stand and greet those around you.
sick will be well, the hungry will feast, the morning will dance, the blinded will see, the church will arise with power and love. Our cities will know the glory of God. The future is bright. There's nothing to fear. Revival is now. The kingdom is here. The lost will come home. The bound will go free. The weak will be strong. The broken redeemed. The sick will be well. The hungry will feast. The morning will dance. The blinded will see. The church will arise with power and love. Our cities will know the glory of God. The future is bright. There's nothing to fear. Revival is now. The kingdom is here. Let the church say amen. Let the church say amen. Death is defeated. Jesus is risen. This is our faith. The good news of grace. Oh, let the church say amen. Let the church say amen. Let the church say amen. Death is defeated. Jesus is risen. This is our faith. The good news of grace. Oh, let the church say amen. Oh, let the church say
What gift of grace is Jesus, my Redeemer? There is no more for heaven now to give. He is my joy, my righteousness and freedom, my steadfast love, my deep and boundless peace. To this I hold, my hope is only Jesus. For
it's vanity. So then he says, okay, let's try to search in pleasure. So he says, laughter, I said, is madness. So as he's exploring this big idea of pleasure, he's like, maybe the whole thing of life is just to have this levity, this wisdom and this intellectual pursuit. That's really, really heavy. Maybe the opposite is true. Maybe I should just live my life with a whole bunch of laughter or merriment or amusement. So to quote the famous philosophers, Timon and Pumbaa from The Lion King, maybe the guiding principle of life is Hakuna Matata. It means no worries, man, for the rest of your days. Maybe that's what I should be doing. Forget all the bad. There's so much bad, and it makes me feel icky. So maybe I should just go to laughter and amusement and entertainment. But he says, no, it's madness. It doesn't work. So if all we want to do is Hakuna Matata, man, means no worries for the rest of your days, right? It's our problem-free philosophy. Hakuna Matata. So what he's doing is he's just saying it's not the way. You can't do it, because if you actually live a human experience in Kamloops, you may want to just live your life with merriment and amusement and entertainment, but you would be shying away from the people dying on our streets because of opioids. Like, you don't live this sum total of the human experience. You cannot live that way. So he says, okay, under pleasure, maybe it's just laughter and merriment and amusement. He's like, no, that's not it. It's not it. He says, and what does pleasure accomplish? Like, it doesn't do anything. So then he says, all right, I tried cheering myself with wine. Now the experiment continues. And he's like, maybe I should join the party scene. Maybe I go clubbing. Thursday night, Saturday night, 25-cent draft. Maybe that's the way to a good life, right? So the author joins the party scene, and he cheers himself with wine. I tried cheering myself. It is fun to do this. And so this is what he does. Wine and folly. Maybe drinking is the good. Maybe that is the organizing principle of life. Okay? So he tries that scene. So I am a very seasonal country music fan. Okay, very seasonal. Very seasonal. You're not going to listen. You're not going to find me listening to country music in November and December. But June, July, and August, green light, because there's something about the summer and country music that just pair really, really well. Okay. So at the beach, you can bring out the country music, and when you listen to country music, so I'm like a pre-2008 country music person. Anything past that, I have no idea, right? When you start to listen to country music in the summer, you will find that so many of the songs revolve around alcohol. It actually is the genre of music that talks about substances the most in comparison to rap and any other thing, right? So you're on the beach and you're listening to an Alan Jackson song, right? And it's 5 o'clock somewhere. Right? It's 5 o'clock somewhere. And that's kind of the joke that we turn around. You're like, oh, is it time to crack one? You're like, well, it's 2:30, but then somebody references the Jackson song, it's 5 o'clock somewhere. You know what I'm talking about, right? Or you have the Brad Paisley tune, no shoes, no shirt, no problem, with the sun and the sand and the drink in my hand, right? There's all that stuff. Or even like the Toby Keith tune, like, I love this bar. Like, well, I wonder what the song's about. And there is this levity of like, oh, drinking, and it's 5 o'clock somewhere, and we'll go get a pack of beer, and we're gonna go down. So this is you, like, this is now. This is life in the shoe shop, life on the boat, life at the cabin. Man, it's 5 o'clock somewhere. And so the temptation to live that sort of life is still here right now. Can we just acknowledge that? That there's so much of our focus is around alcohol. Social gatherings, what am I bringing? What's the cocktail of the summer? Is it the mojito? Is it what? We have all of these things. And I've even noticed, like, in conversations that like we had at the beach last week, as we're just meeting people, the conversation goes so quickly to booze. And about drinking, about the life. And this is what the author is trying to figure out. Is this the organizing principle? Is joining the party scene the way forward to make sense of my life with all of the stuff in our culture around it? So what I want to do is I want to take us on a little bit of an excursus. Okay, so if you've ever been on a cruise, you go on excursions. And an excursion on a cruise is when you leave the ship for a little bit of time and then you come back. This is going to be an excursus to the sermon where we leave the sermon and come back. You ready? Because we need to talk about alcohol. What does the Bible say about it? Well, what does this mean, okay? Because here it's like, man, I tried cheering myself with wine. You read in 1 Timothy chapter 5, and Paul's like, man, you're not feeling good? Maybe some wine's gonna help you. And some people are like, wow, the Bible's telling me to drink Rieslings? Come on, I want to know that chapter. I'll highlight that, right? It feels good, right? Jesus' first miracle, turning water into wine. Like he's not bringing Brita water filters to the wedding festival ceremony. He's like, all right, hey, it's time to party. I got the water. No, he's like, time to party. I got the finest wine you could ever have. So that's actually jarring for some of us who grew up with this, like, you don't touch it. It's jarring when you see how the Bible speaks of it in a positive way. Like, this is a good thing. It can be used well, okay? So there's that. So that some of you in this room are like, ooh, hold on, right? But then there's more. But there's a place in Ephesians chapter 5 where Paul, the same guy who wrote 1 Timothy 5 to say, hey, you're a little sick, you maybe should have some wine, Pinot Noir maybe, you go over there. But in Ephesians chapter 5, Paul is going to say this, do not get drunk with wine, which leads to debauchery. Instead, be filled with the Spirit. So he's saying, there is going to be an influencer in your life. Is it the way of the flesh through alcohol, or is it the way of the Spirit towards godliness? What is it going to be? You will be influenced by something. This is what Paul is saying. And he is speaking here to Jesus' followers. And so listen, very clearly, there is a clear prohibition in the scriptures to not get drunk with wine. It's there. And so that challenges some of us who have to have alcohol at all of our social gathering because it takes the edge off. That challenges some of us who feel scared sometimes because you just can't stop and yet you're still really high functioning. So it's saying two things. You can enjoy it, but be very careful. Be very, very careful because alcohol has and does destroy generations of families. And there are people in this room who have felt its devastating effects. And us who have not struggled with it would do well to listen to people like that. So here's what I'm not doing. Fuddy-duddy, don't be drinking your booze. And I'm not also saying go wild because it's dangerous. It is dangerous. And so this matters for us as we think about the author here saying, maybe I should just go out and let her rip. He's going to say it's meaningless. It does not work. Excursus over. We move on. He says, my mind's still guiding me with wisdom. What he's saying here is he's like, I'm still doing the experiment. As I'm living the party life, doing the Thursday, Saturday, Friday at the bar, I'm still doing it aware of its effects. I'm still asking myself the deeper question of, is this working? That's what he's saying. So he's not just headlong into it. He's asking himself, is this working for me? Is this the guiding principle? He says, I wanted to see what was good. Here's the word, good, for people to do under the heavens during their days of their lives. This is also under the sun. In some commentaries, in some translations, it's different. During the days of life. So he's like, I get it. Everyone's trying to orient themselves to the good. Everyone's trying to live a good life. Everyone's trying to live a life that's fulfilling. Maybe it is through pleasure. And so maybe this is the way that I should live my life under the sun. Okay, now he switches in verse 4 to accomplishments. And he's going to talk about pleasure. Here's what we're going to see. There's three big ones here. Accomplishments, wealth, and pleasure. Okay? Here's what he explores now under the whole banner, right? Laughter, wine. Now he's going to look at accomplishments. Maybe this is the organizing principle of life. Verse 4, I undertook great projects. The author, Solomon, is now saying maybe it's through being a successful business person. Maybe that's it. Maybe it's through fame and notoriety from all that I have done. Maybe that's it. Great projects. And so then he defines, I built houses, more than one, right? More than one house for myself. So I got a place at the lake, got a place in Vegas, got a place in New York. He has it all. I planted vineyards. The same wine he's drinking in the party scene, it's his wine. His name is on the bottle. He has sommeliers working for him to make his own wine. That's the level of this person. Vineyards, more than one. He can go to his wine rack and say, which vintage do I want? And they're all from his own vineyards. That's what we're talking about. I made gardens and parks and planted. Think about Central Park in New York City. It's enormous and beautiful. The author says, I own one of those. I planted all of the trees in those. With all kinds of fruit trees in them. This image is actually like an Edenic garden image. That there's so much lavish beauty that this person owns. I made reservoirs. This also could be the idea of aqueducts. Like enormous civil projects to water groves of flourishing trees. This is all that he has accomplished. In other words, your greatest accomplishment does not hold a candle to what this person has done. You strut around, look what I've done, I got a house here. It doesn't hold a candle to what this person has done, or what they've owned, or what they have accomplished. They've done it all, 10 times more than anybody in this room combined. They know what it is like to be successful. Okay? That's the point. Maybe the good of my life is to search through accomplishments. And so, I want to speak to we're going to apply this at the end to everybody, but I want to speak to those in their 30s and 40s, because that's where I'm at. I have this competing desires in my life. Number one, just based on my wiring, I love accomplishing things. I love conquering things. I'm a dream-oriented person. Right when I think I've hit my capacity, I'm like, oh baby, there's more. Right? Opportunities. I'm not like, no, I got way too much going on. I'm like, give it to me. I can figure it out. I can make some time here and shuffle that over there. That's me. I have this competing desire to do great projects. I also have a competing desire to not miss the key relationships in my life. Competing desires. So, I want to show up for my kids at their soccer games. I want my wife to know my first name. How do I do that, man? I don't know how to do that. I'm figuring out, but I don't know how to do it. So I got an email from, this isn't original to me, I got an email from another thinker, leader, pastor about kind of parenting and intentional parenting. And it struck me, and so I offer this to you. This is what they said. How much time do you think you have with your kids, okay? So this is my life. This is my birth, or this is their birth, and this is their death. And I think I have all the time in the world. Like the days are so long. My kids have a bug right now. There's just Tylenol and Advil on tap right now. Okay? It's just who's next? Who's next? Who's next? And it's like, stop it. It feels like it's never going to end. So the lie that I can believe is like, oh, I got all the time in the world. But then the person offers another graph. Here's the actual reality, how much time you actually have with your kids. Is that 95% of the time I have with my kids are up until they're 18 years old. And then the last 5% is the entirety of my life. Like, I think about my life. I left at 18. I was gone. Came back for a few months here and there. Gone. I'm not trying to be like downer on you. But we would do well, and the search for wisdom would teach us to make the most of this time in the key relationships of your life. Because he's going to say, look, all of my great projects, meaningless. Chasing after the wind. Here's the reality. None of you, most likely, will be at my funeral. You know who will be at my funeral? My kids. My kids. So I'm like, Okay, so here, let me just apply this, okay? So if you are young, you're a teenager here, make the most of the time. Your parents may drive you nuts, but make the most of it. Redeem it. For the 30s and 40s, those people who resonate with what I've just talked about, can I just say, make the most of it? And that looks differently for everybody in this room, but make the most of it. I know that I will not regret investing in the key relationships of my life. But I will regret saying yes to too many things. I will. For those people in this room who don't have a family, who are single, man, what I would say to you is, as a family, we would love your help in investing into my kids. We would love your help so that they would have a community of people they can grow up with. When I am out doing these things to invest into my kids and the kids of our church. Okay, so maybe it's great projects. Then he switches now. I bought to wealth. He's talking about wealth. I bought male and female slaves and had other slaves who were born in my house. Just a quick thing here. Just because it's in the Bible doesn't mean it approves of it. Okay, so as we talk about slavery, if you're new to church, you're like, of course. Talk about slavery, the Bible's pro-slavery. Just because it's in the Bible does not mean it approves of it. Okay, it's very, very important. We just did a sermon on that a few weeks ago. But this is this person living in this broken world. He has slaves, okay? He bought and they were born into his house. I also owned more herds and flocks than anyone in Jerusalem before me. He has the Excel spreadsheet of how many things he has, and at the bottom, it's more than what you have. He owns things, wealth. He says, I amassed silver and gold for myself and the treasure of kings and provinces. He has more than what he could ever know what to do with. So in May, there was a missing lottery ticket in Ontario. And they, a year before, announced the winning ticket. It was for a $70 million jackpot. And for an entire year, the winner did not come forward. So this May, they kind of put up, hey, this is your last day to find the ticket, okay? It was like Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, right? Who's got the golden ticket? So everybody is looking around. Hey, maybe it's in my pocket. They knew it was in Scarborough, Ontario. So everybody in Scarborough is looking through all their stuff, their pockets, like maybe I have the ticket. Because underneath the promise of wealth is fulfillment. And we like to play this game too, right? We like to say, see it on the news, you're like, what would you do with $70 million? I pay off the house. I'd buy the place in the shoe shop. I'd quit my job. I'd do all these things because it entices you, because it offers freedom and options from your life. And so the author's saying, maybe it's through the accumulation of money. Maybe it's through $70 million. Maybe that's the good. Nope. He moves on. I acquired male and female singers. So now he's talking about entertainment. He's talking about the elite cosmopolitan lifestyle of hors d'oeuvres and fine establishments with jazz music playing and singers of notoriety on the stage. Maybe it's through this elitist pursuit of the finer things, being a foodie, having all of these great, having the people in front of you that he can say what songs he wants and how long they should play for. He has all of these singers at his beck and call, okay? And a harem as well. In the Message translation of this, it says, voluptuous maidens for my bed. That's how Eugene Peterson, okay? With money, the author didn't have to wonder, what would it be like to win 70 million bucks? He had it all. With sex, the harem, multiple people, the author never had to wonder, I wonder what it would feel like to which is the question of lust. I wonder what it would be like. He knows. As many people, as many times as the author wanted. Freedom. Maybe sex is the good, the organizing principle of my life. There's an author who wrote a book a few years ago. The book's title was Rethinking Sex. The author's name is Christine Emba. She's a Washington Times journalist. And the whole book is challenging this cultural creed that the only thing that we should have restricting sex is consent. Right? It's just all you need is two consenting adults, or just consenting adults. It doesn't have to be two people. Consenting adults, that's it. And as she is interviewing, working in one of the most cosmopolitan cities in the United States, she's challenging, maybe it's more than consent. Consent is huge, but maybe it's the door into it and not the end of it. Okay? So this is what Emba says in her book, Rethinking Sex. What understanding we do have, so she's talking about sexual formation in our current moment. What understanding we do have of sex has been shaped by an ideal of liberation, freedom. Whatever I want, whenever I want, as long as it's consenting. With personal agency as a key that unlocks every door. So it's my choice and I'm free to do what I want. She says, it's not a moral question, we tell ourselves. So the problem with sex isn't moral. It's not like there's something intrinsically meaningful about sex. No, it's not a moral thing. Here's what we tell ourselves. The problem of sex is gender roles or social stigma. It's this kind of hereditary thing that we have been passed down from previous generations. Maybe that's what's wrong with sex. Or a restrictive biological clock. She's a feminist herself. Or even our own unruly emotions that make consent confusing and speaking up harder than it should be. So she's testing all of these cultural reasons why sex is still convoluted and we don't really know what to do with it. Then she says, if we could just get really, truly free, things would be better. But sex has become more liberated by leaps and bounds, and here's her conclusions, and the problems haven't gone away. See what she's saying? Listen, you are free, you are more free in any time in human history to do whatever you want with your body. And more than anybody else. And Emba's saying, it's not getting better. Here's why. This book that was written thousands of years ago is speaking to something. That it's fun, but it will not fulfill you. You can be free and still enslaved. So, do you see what he's doing here? The author is testing accomplishments, wealth, and sex. The three things that our culture tells you to pursue and abound. Go for it. It's going to be awesome. He says it's poof, chasing after the wind. Won't work. And he ends like this. He ends by saying, a final analysis? Oh, where's the other side? Yeah, he says, I became greater by far than anyone in Jerusalem before me. In all this, my wisdom stayed with me. He became great. Everybody knew him, notoriety, everything. He's got it. Check. Did it all, okay? Final analysis of this experiment, okay? Of testing with wisdom. Is this the way? Here's a final analysis. Verse 10. I denied myself nothing. My eyes desired. I refused my heart no pleasure. He is living the dream that is given to you today. Living the dream, baby. Anything he wants at all times. This was his life. Maybe the freedom to do and experience all these things, maybe that's it. I want to say, nowhere does the author say that this wasn't fun. You notice that? He's still talking about pleasure. Like he doesn't break out into this like, well, and I found out that sex and money and alcohol and partying, that was miserable. He never says it. He says it's pleasure. Because sometimes as Christians, what we think is like, we look at like people in our lives who don't follow Jesus and we're like, oh, they must be so miserable. Just out there on their boats in the middle of summer, drinking away. That must be awful. We got people, got multiple locations of houses. Oh, those poor people, living in Paris for the next 6 months. That's awful. No. It's still fun. Like the Bible's not like, oh, this is like we think all these Christians or non-Christians are just, oh, my life is terrible. No. They're actually having fun. Because sex and money and accomplishment, they're fun. It's enjoyable to do those things. But it's empty. It's empty. Because, he says, my heart took delight in all my labor, and this was the reward of my toil. Yet, when I surveyed all that my hands had done, the great projects, all this stuff, and what I had toiled to achieve, everything was meaningless, a chasing after the wind. Nothing was gained under the sun. Here's the experiment. Laughter. Wine. Accomplishments. Sex. Not there. No, and no. It's fun, but it doesn't work. It gets old. You're living for Friday, Monday comes. You're living for retirement, you get sick at 66. Living for sex, always something or someone better. Living for travel, always something better to see. This is what he's saying. He's just grasping at smoke. Okay, so what? I'm going to offer you two things and one practice. Two things and one practice. The first one is to walk circumspectly. And you're like, yeah, just tell it to me in normal words. This is to walk prudently, to be watchful, to walk circumspectly. Not on your phone, but to walk looking around, reflecting on your life. Because here's the thing. Your life is a great teacher. And it is trying to teach you something about the good to pursue. And all of these things are numbing agents for you. They take the edge off the real pursuit of the good. They dilute and confuse you. Walk circumspectly. Your life is a great teacher if you're willing to listen. Walk circumspectly, listening to the words of Scripture. Do not store up for yourselves treasures on earth. We know that, and yet we do all these things. Listen. Listen. Okay? Secondly, do realize God's good gifts. We, as evangelicals, like our tradition, okay, we have a terrible theology of pleasure and delight. Because all we hear is, stay away from the booze, stay away from the sex, stay away from those things, they're awful, they're right? Well, no, actually, these are good gifts. So we need to ask ourselves, why is the world so incredibly good? Why is there so much delight in the world? Why do I love the smell of an old book? Oh, there's something about it. Get that Kindle away from me. Give me a nice old, oh, so beautiful. Why is ice cream so delicious on a summer day? Why is it that enjoyed rightly in right moderation, a glass of locally made Riesling is so delicious? Why are we so enticed by the laughter of our grandchildren? Like, why is life so abundantly good and delightful? And the barbecues and the families and all of the things in your life, why is that there? See, if you're walking circumspectly, prudently, watching, there's two choices that you have as you enjoy all of the good of life, is that you can experience it and steal it for yourself. Look at what I've made, look at what I've done, look at what I've accomplished, and it becomes an end in itself. Or you can experience the lavish goodness of God and say, thank you. Oh, you are so good. And that's what the author is trying to promote. So I don't want you walking away from here being like, well, the pastor told me, can't have fun. No, just the opposite. Enjoy God's good gifts, but not as an end of themselves. Be very careful, because they're numbing you from the true pursuit of the good found in Jesus. So listen to me. As you walk circumspectly, you're going to realize, if you are walking circumspectly, you're going to realize that you were made for God, not these things. Not these things. And the error that some of you, listen to me, the error that some of you are believing in this room is like, well, it's not going to be me. It's not me. I see other people, they're drinking too much and they're accomplishing too much, but it's not me. I got a higher capacity, I got more wisdom, I got all these things. It's called folly. To think that this somehow doesn't apply to you because you somehow have arrived where humanity hasn't. It's you, baby. It's you. So walk circumspectly. Second thing, live cruciformly. Again, Chris, why? Why? Here's what this means. Live with a cross-shaped life. Cruciformly. That. What is the organizing principle of life? What is at the center of your life? As a follower of Jesus, I can boldly say it's a cross. That's at the center of my life. Live cruciformly. So there's an old, he's now deceased, Anglican theologian, professor. His name was J.I. Packer, okay? Packer is brilliant. I met him once. He was like 93, couldn't read anything and still lecturing at Regent College. So I met him one day. He's a wonderfully godly man. In 1987, he wrote like a treatise or almost like a small book on, after he went into a hot tub for the first time, he wrote a book about it. That's what we're talking about, okay? And he called this little treatise, he called it Hot Tub Religion, okay? So the thing that I was trying to not to think about this week was like J.I. Packer in a hot tub. But anyway, after sitting in a hot tub for the first time, J.I. Packer, 1987, this is what he says. Said of the experience. The hot tub is the perfect symbol of the modern root in religion. The hot tub experience is sensuous, relaxing, floppy, laid back, not in any way demanding, whether intellectually or otherwise, but very, very nice, even to the point of being great fun. Many today want Christianity to be like that and labor to make it so. So he sees the hot tub. He's like, this is, I see. There's a parallel here to modern day Christianity. We just want this hot tub, okay? So if you have a hot tub, it's okay. You can enjoy it. But this is what he says, all right? So he says, but if there were no more to our Christianity than a hot tub factors, if, that is, we embraced a self-absorbed hedonism, that's the point, of relaxation and happy feelings while dodging tough tasks, unpopular stances, and exhausting relationships, we should fall short of biblical God-centeredness and of the cross-bearing life to which Jesus calls us and advertise to the world nothing better than our own decadence. And he just prays, please God, however, we shall not settle for that. So you saying? If we're just walking around, just looking for the next thing and the next comfort and the next stuff, you are not living cruciformly. Because at the center of your faith, if you follow Jesus, is a cross of suffering. Oh, but the irony, my friends, is that at this cross, you actually find your life. And you start to delight in better and greater things that deliver. So Jesus searched the hearts of the people in this room. Search the hearts of the people in this room. Of the insane notion of, this doesn't apply to me. Lord, I tend to drift into decadence and comfort. And yet, Lord, you promise a better way, the way of Jesus, the way of pleasure and delight in new and greater and better. So help us to live not with wealth or pleasure or wine or accomplishments as the organizing principle of our life, but as actually at the cross is where we find ourselves and you and the way forward. In your name we pray. Amen. Why don't you stand? We're going to sing Christ, our hope in life and death, not in these things, but in him. Let's sing.
flame. Your love is a light that all the world will see. All the world will see. You don't give your heart in pieces. You don't hide yourself to tease us. You don't give your heart in pieces. You don't hide yourself to tease us. Your love's not fractured. It's not a troubled mind. It isn't anxious. It's not the restless kind. Your